Hey, good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
And yee.
What's that?
The Bay Area.
Oh.
Yee.
Oh, you're talking about the episode we're about to do with Mistah F.A.B?
That's right.
All right, before we get into Mistah F.A.B, though, let's talk about what's happening this Saturday in Detroit, Michigan. Detroit, Michigan.
I forgot we're going there. I got scared because Detroit is a crazy town.
Well, if you're scared, then I have bad news. We're going there.
But just a small town girl living in a lonely world.
But Detroit's not that small a town. Like, that's not what they're...
She took a midnight train going in. What about the guy, though?
He just a city boy. Oh. Born and raised in South Detroit.
Actually, there is no South Detroit.
Anyways, so we're going to be at SneakerCon this Saturday, 2 p.m. Interviewing Royce the 5'9", hanging out, saying hello, taking pictures. It's going to be a happening.
Bring Carhartt girls. If you got any Carhartt girls you're friends with in Detroit, bring them to our show, Live One Ep. We're going to be there earlier, hanging out in the Monster Energy section. We're going to be there later doing some other One Ep stuff. The actual live show, 2 p.m. So bring some big old...
Okay. Just come on out and have a good time. One Ep live from SneakerCon in Detroit. Our first One Ep out of town ever.
One Ep fans, can I just say this real quick?
It's not? Atlanta. Oh, Ciph, we did one in Atlanta.
We did. That was part of a
festival.
conference.
That was part of a conference. Part of our conference. It didn't count. So our second ever.
We got to go. We're going to start the episode. Don't, One Ep fans, I don't know where I'm looking. Don't come alone. You fucking One Ep fuck faces that come by yourself. You One Ep fuck faces that come by yourself.
You bring a friend.
Bring somebody. Anybody, please. This guy in Chicago came by himself.
I know it's not only that you want more people there, it's that you feel embarrassed that they have no friends. All right, we'll see you in Detroit. Hey, good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
And good night.
And
Bay Area.
Oh, that yay area. Wow.
Tell him Mistah F.A.B is back.
Mistah F.A.B is back.
Area.
Yo, is this Mistah F.A.B back, by the way, or first time on One Ep?
No, he did.
Nah, I didn't actually. We did.
Oh, he did Hot 97.
We did Hot.
But you didn't do the podcast. Pull that mic nice and close to you.
Yeah, we never did the podcast, so this is my first time.
Wow. And who's this fine gentleman?
I'm sure we used a piece of it for the pod. No?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Was I?
He was on One Ep too?
Yeah.
Damn, Mistah F.A.B, why you come here and lie to me
you
like
with
this?
some girl.
Did we film it at?
Yo, Ciph.
It was at Hot.
What?
We filmed it at Hot.
Not like that.
Right. Oh,
there was a girl that you was talking about hyphy shit with.
I was with a chick. Who was I with? I was with
somebody, like, was she a reporter or something? Or
she was a You Feel Me.
PR? She was a You Feel Me?
She was a You Feel Me.
I didn't mean it like that. She was some kind of official capacity.
By the way, that was Ciph just pulled a real Rosenberg move. Yo, you were with that girl who wasn't your wife.
Yeah.
Who was that again?
I didn't say that.
She was a You Feel Me.
You Feel Me.
And who is the fine gentleman you brought with you, Mistah F.A.B?
That's my uncle, man. This is Unc the Hunk, man. Where we from, Unc's a star, man. Unc's a superstar, man. This is everybody's uncle. Everybody loves Unc.
I'm Rosenberg uncle now.
Yeah. Yo, Unc.
This shows me. This 100% shows me Rosenberg doesn't follow Mistah F.A.B on the gram, okay?
They got a lot of stuff going on, man.
Unc is all over that.
Isn't it fun? I hate the gaps I have of random people I love who I don't follow. And then I look, I'm like, what? Then is the worst one. This is really, really dark. Then someone dies, and you look, you're like, why didn't I follow them on the gram?
Because you go to look at their page, and it says follow back. And you're like, yo, I wasn't following.
F.A.B, you ever had that happen? Where you look and it says follow back, and then you feel like shit, it just happened?
2 days ago, man. It's crazy. And you be like, damn, my whole cop-out is I follow you in real life. So,
Yo, that's a great cop-out.
Follow you in real life. Social media doesn't matter.
That's a great job by you.
For real.
All right, so Ciph, as I go to Mistah F.A.B's page, are you saying I'm going to see the presence of Unc?
Most definitely.
Unc and F.A.B is
most definitely.
It's the most fiery show on there, bro. It's hilarious.
We go city to city, country to country, doing skits and wilding out. Basically, just living life.
But even just being in a dope era store.
What the fuck? Why is it?
I'm shadow banned for real.
Oh, F.A.B Davis Jr.
Oh, it's F.A.B Davis Jr. Okay.
I'm shadow banned because of him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, most definitely. He has
you. In the court of law, that wouldn't be good.
Allegedly.
Okay, there you go.
Yes.
Oh no, I did know it was F.A.B Davis
I'm protected
Jr.
by allegedly.
So this is your real life uncle.
Yeah, that's my hood uncle.
So not your real life uncle. Well, not your
What do you
blood
mean by
uncle.
that?
Sorry, not your blood uncle.
Right.
Or law uncle.
Or Crip uncle. Is that what you're saying? What you mean? What do you mean not blood uncle? What does that mean?
Meaning he's not Fab's.
I hate that shit when people say, well, Cipha, what's your, like white girls, what's your real name? Everybody's called me Cipha since I was 16 years old. That don't make it real? Well, what's your government name?
But that's not the same as this.
So in hood terminology,
okay, go ahead.
What this would stand for is somebody that is from your neighborhood or from your city or has some form of influence around you. That was like an uncle-like, father-like kind of figure, and he just raised you. He always kept you in, and it just with good game, with good inspiration, and y'all just bridged that relationship. He was like, and it was just like, what's up, Unc? That's Unc. So he took the uncle role, you took the nephew role, and some go further in life, man, like that. When we come from the neighborhoods that we come from, most of us don't. Our fathers aren't present or. No big homies, no relatives, so we really take to that kind of relationship, and so that's what this is, man. But you couldn't tell us that that we wasn't really family related.
Here's what's bugged out about what you just said, right? Let me do some hood math.
Okay.
Let me do some hood math. Okay.
All right.
Hood math is like, this is an example of hood math. My boy, his brother got stabbed by his baby mother's other baby's father. Okay?
Yeah, that makes sense.
It?
I'm sure that's happened many times.
Okay.
Sure.
His brother got stabbed by his baby mother's other baby's father.
Got it.
Okay. Hood math here is a lot. You just said a lot of dudes where we come from don't know their fathers. But their fathers are somebody's unc in a different hood.
Facts.
Right.
That's deep when you think about it.
That's crazy, right? They might be the OG in another hood where everybody's like, yo, unc, but then he don't even fuck with his own kids.
That happens daily.
For whatever, and you don't even know the reason. Sometimes some dudes, it really be the mom that's wilding out on them while blocking them from the kids. You know what I mean? Saying not every guy that doesn't see his kids is a deadbeat dad, but they might be somebody's unc. And you hate them. You're like, I never see my dad. And 20 in the hood look up to him.
That's a great.
That's what I'm here for.
I concur. And the reason why is because we've seen that. We've seen people have. You may have like people be like, man, you take care of him better than you take care of your own kids.
Yeah.
Stepdaddies.
Yep.
Step hood unks.
Yep.
I could say that I probably have a better relationship with you than I have with my sons.
Wow. Seth, he just said something sincere. Why are you laughing like that?
No, but I
just said something very real.
I was gonna jump in and make a joke
about
and
that.
It was the actual shit he said.
Not just based off the fact that you got to understand the story coming up.
Yeah.
Of course,
coming up, Unc was in and out of jail and all, and that may have prevented
me
the
from
maturation of their their relationship and their friendship. So
right.
not saying that he a deadbeat dad because he's a hell of a grandfather as well to his son's children, but
you have a relationship with your son?
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, based on, I spent a long time running in and out of jail and using drugs, that those, not using that as an excuse, but from that being a fact, I was not present as much as I should have been for my kids.
Well, and there's a lot more pressure on that relationship than there is on the Neff relationship.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. You have a little bit more room. You have a lot more wiggle room in this relationship as far as the emotional effect that it has on the younger person.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you mess up with your actual kids where you're not around. That affects the way they view you.
I don't know. Sometimes he acts like.
Oh, really? Or Fab's just like that too.
Sometimes he acts like an actual kid. So yeah.
What you're saying is true though, but here's another aspect to it that you overthink the shit you might do with your real kids. But the way y'all got a relationship, you just say fuck it, and that's really how you should be with your kids. Like, you don't gotta overthink every move. Don't gotta be perfect.
That's an interesting point. I'll tell you one thing.
This episode is deep.
It's a family affair.
This episode you can't afford to miss.
Yeah, no, but I'm being serious. I joke about the family relation thing a lot between how black people say relationships and white people do. Like, it's a common joke in my life, because on the morning show, or anytime, YouTube, people are like, oh, my uncle so-and-so, and I'll always be like, real uncle? And it's always a stupid joke. In reality, though, it's a thing that, in my experience, white people are missing out on.
Yeah.
Do white people have cousins?
You mean play cousins?
Yeah, like I don't never hear them say, "Man, this is my cousin," and it don't really be that cousin.
No, it's really, if you say it,
you got a few of them.
That's different. You're Italian though.
No, I do. Yeah.
Italians are like Italians cousined up.
I just want to tell. I don't care what either of these people are saying.
Okay.
By and large, when white people say this is my cousin, 98% of the time, it is their first or second cousin. Like it is a relative.
Because we
way more than black people do. It's not even close to comparable.
But it's a hood rule. You know somebody over 10 years, that's your cousin.
Yeah, but a lot of a lot of white shit, and I'm being general, but in a lot of white neighborhoods, it's more spread out. Where like in the hood, you're right above, right below, right next door, so you always with them. I used to say my apartment building, because I never lived in the projects, but I lived in the buildings. I used to say my building was my mansion, and my family just lives in different rooms in the mansion. Instead of saying I live in my apartment was my bedroom, right, in a mansion. Because then it don't feel like you just in a small ass apartment. You like, oh, this is my bedroom.
I've never heard you say that. Wow.
I'm with some hood dudes today.
Yeah, wow.
Usually we talk to a bunch of fucking nerds.
Now I resent the Rosenthals just leaving and you saying that. No, the only time when white people definitively say it is like all of my friends who have, because I'm not a dad yet, all of my friends who have kids, they will, when I come over, refer to me as Uncle Peter. Right. Like that is definitely a thing, but that's it. Like my parents' friends, so a year and change ago, our closest family friend's daughter died at 25 years old. Rest in peace, Rachie. Ciph remembers it well. Yeah. And describing it that way sucks. I want to say my cousin died because that is the feeling that I had.
It felt like that.
But we don't. But my family doesn't use that. So all I say is like it's my parents' friend's daughter, which sounds fucking so tenuous.
It sounds distant.
It sounds distant, and it's not. She really was my.
I've told you for years about my Aunt Susie, who's not my aunt. She was just my mom's best friend.
Right.
Yeah, no, them definitely aunties.
Yeah, that's my auntie.
Your mom's best friends, them is definitely aunties.
Yeah.
And her kids are definitely your cousins.
Right.
100%.
Sure. And then your successful friends from the neighborhood, most definitely your cousins. And they don't even have to be from your neighborhood. Let them be from your city.
That's my cousin.
No, hold on. That means being that you are like Fab's like you're like a hood legend.
Oh, I'm hella people cousins.
You have to be so many people's cousins and uncles who you don't want to be, sure. And you have to sit there and be like, and kind of grit your teeth.
You brother? Hey, brother.
Oh, you get brother too?
Brother. Listen, I was trying to do something different with you. I'm not your brother. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Our whole thing is, I'm not your aunt.
I'm not your aunt.
How do you feel when the girls tell you, what's up,
I tell them, I ain't your uncle. I don't want you seeing me as your uncle. I don't want to be trying to get in your pants.
I don't look at you like that.
No, I don't.
No, you're like a brother to me.
I don't know if I can really say what I say when I be saying it to them, so I don't want to use that language here.
Listen, you're safe with us. It's on you.
Well, I'll be like, I ain't your uncle, bitch. I am not your uncle, bitch.
Nope.
Yo, lately I've been telling girls, they're like, what's up, friend? I go, we're not friends. We're not friends.
What's up, friend? What are you putting out in the universe that you're getting what's up, friend?
I get that a lot. I put out a lot of friend energy, a lot. Yeah. Friends, I'm like friend concentration camp, yo.
What do you mean? It's beyond a zone. It's
a whole fucking.
You're stuck there for life.
I'm fucking exiled
into friend zone.
This is the Bay Area right here. I love Mistah F.A.B, man. This is one of my. He called me last week. Mm-hmm. He texted me, said he'd been DMing me. I've been answering. I didn't see any DMs. You must be DMing a different Cipha sounds.
I was tagging you,
but. I follow this guy. I'm a huge fan. And you're one of the guys that I feel like a little giddy about that we actually talk as friends. There's certain rappers that I look up to so much. And then that Premier, Q-Tip, the RZA.
Wow, this guy's putting you in rarefied air,
but he don't get the credit. He don't get the credit. He don't get the credit he deserves. And what's funny, I just saw you, I told you the other day, you did you was on some podcast and you talk about how Too Short don't get his credit.
Right.
Tell me that real quick, because I'm gonna tell you why you don't get yours.
Man, in hopes that you're not just bloviating, man, I appreciate that, man.
What did you say? Now you know I had one class. I don't understand nothing about. I had resources. I didn't have with a gate.
He means he hopes that Ciph means what he just said.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Talking.
But it was kind of a deep way to say it. I enjoyed that. Okay.
Just to be in the company of it all. I mean,
and he does bloviate, so that's a good.
Premier is my favorite producer ever, so to be mentioning him, that was dope. But no, what I was saying was basically about Too Short, man. You know, the alleged gatekeepers of hip hop. The alleged gatekeepers of hip hop are definitely East Coast bias.
Yes.
And so
yes,
when we talk about,
well, it started here. That's why.
most definitely. I mean,
yes, you're right.
That's not to be denied.
You're right.
You know, you can't argue with fact.
Wait, well, real quick. I just happened to be watching Straight Outta Compton the other day, and the way they treat the New York rappers that were in the studio that was supposed to do Boys in the Hood, they did us so dirty. I forgot how dirty they did us.
Really?
They're like, yo, B, I don't like this beat, B. Like, it was so bad.
That was funny.
So yeah.
Okay, so the gatekeepers do have East Coast bias. I would agree.
So when we look at the Billboard list that was dropped a few months ago, and we see all this, and you want to get somebody irritated and agitated, create a list.
We know.
And so these lists will create the most craziest conversations everywhere around the world. But when you see 50 artists, and then you see some of the artists that are on that list, and you don't see Too Short, to me, I'm just like, shred the whole list.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because how can you exclude someone that has been there since the beginning, that is still relevant till this day? Who just got off a tour grossing $20 million, a tour who's booked every weekend, who's dropped over.
If he wants to be. If he could chill at home.
He has a residency in Las Vegas. He does, like this is Too Short. Like, you look at all of the times that he's been sampled, all of the time, his influence. And then you be like, dude, this is somebody he's a 57-year-old man who lives like he's 22 and doesn't care about anything.
Well, I guess there's a couple ways of looking at this. If you were to have a conversation that was just based on, straight up quote lyricism, right? I can understand why you wouldn't put Too Short super duper high. But the reality is, when you look at those lists, there are a lot of people who are on there who are not Chino XL. You know what I mean? A lot of people, or Rascast. A lot of people on those lists are there because of all the things you just mentioned.
Most definitely.
The influence, the success, the hits, all those different things, which is why it would make no sense to not have Too Short on that list.
It just has to be when we're doing these lists, there has to be a multitude of different sections and
like
categories.
Factors of how.
Okay, skill. Okay, we want to talk skill. He may not be your favorite rapper when we say skill wise, but when we talk about
like lyric, like a Nas lyricist type. Okay,
I mean, listen, no, Too Short's. I think Too Short would be the first to admit he's not a complex rapper. That's not what he does.
He's always said that. But when we talk about greatest storytellers,
influence.
When they talk about great storytellers, they never mention Short, which to me is crazy. Like, if you just go back and listen to Freaky Tales, he did a 7-minute song about Lord knows how many women and just different stories and tales about them. Like, these tales were crazy. Cuss words, invasion of the flat booty bitch. Like, we have to talk about the things that he was doing at a time where people wasn't even cursing in their raps.
Yeah.
That was like, he was like, whoa, you said what? You called a woman a bitch? Whoa.
Yeah.
Like, for him to have the audacity and the courage to do that at these times, to not come with the Sugar Hill flow, he didn't come with none of that flow, and he came around that same time.
Right.
So that flow was like the most bit flow around the world. Everybody wanted to be Curtis Blow. Everybody wanted to be Sugar Hill. He came with a whole different, like, whoa, like, and so.
And then he got the influence that he had, the amount of people he put on,
right?
The out the trunk hustle, the hustle of independent before we even used the word independent.
Also the sonics musically.
Oh, the bass line,
the actual bass lines,
and he was producing a majority of those songs in the infancy stages of his career.
Right.
He was the actual producer.
Yeah.
So when we look at that, we look at the fact, okay, we're not good in the skill category. We may not be up there like the Nas's and like the, the J's and the KRS-Ones and all of these other great MCs over the time. But where he totally has them whooped is, let's talk about sales. Let's talk about who went platinum more times, who went gold more times, who did more collaborations, who put out more records, who made more money, who had more fun.
He's the only rapper that had a song with Big E,
Pac, Jay-Z,
Pimp C, like all of them.
Dogg.
Yeah.
Well, and when you think about the way people, and I always tread lightly on this subject. When you think about the way people grade Pac, they give Pac the extra scores that you're talking about.
Yes.
Because Pac, I always, and I know people get mad about this.
Here we go.
Pac and Biggie, you cannot compare them lyrically. Because Biggie was on, in terms of the rapidy rap skill, Biggie's on a different level. Pac gets his other points in other places.
Right. Influence.
I mean, and just the way he hits people in the heart. There's something about him as a person that's different. You got to do the same thing for Too Short.
Yeah.
Even though they're totally different in terms of what they did, you got to give Short those extra points also.
And like Short's Pac's big homie. Like this is Pac wearing Life is Too Short shirts.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is the big homie in the music game.
Right.
This is the guy who Jay-Z sought after to put on his album.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Everybody did.
We talk about these collaborations. These are times. Now, mind you, let's talk about the times.
He's on Big album too.
He's on Big's album too. Let's talk about the times that these events occurred. This is the time where the East Coast, West Coast is like, it's what side are you on?
No. Short was completely.
I'm short.
He didn't even matter.
Like I got a song with Pac. I'm in New York.
But then this gets into a bigger conversation. I know, Ciph, and I'll let you get to the point you want to make about Fab, but like this gets into a bigger conversation about people sleeping on the Bay, period. Because I knew the second we were having you on, the first thing I would do is admit I have like such a gap in my basically from the start of Mac Dre, Drew Down, that like era.
Right.
I don't have it. Through hyphy. I do not have, like, I really, like, it's all, I feel like an outsider, whereas everywhere else in hip-hop, I feel comfortable knowing it. Like the history of hyphy, for example, how Mac Dre transitioned from the dude I used to see in the Source magazine to then becoming this legend by the time he passed away. Bro, I missed that. Like, I missed that. He was just a dude in the Source who I saw. And then this entire thing starts. And Ciph might have a nice little hyphy set. Most DJs don't even have the set in their Serato.
Facts.
I got my
Ciph always kept it
hyphy Ciphy, baby.
No, hyphy Ciphy.
Hyphy Ciphy was a thing.
Baby.
So like what? That's my question. Is like, what is it? Period about the Bay Area that doesn't get? And I don't. It's such a generic thing. We don't get our props. We don't. Blah. Every city says that. But in the Bay Area, there really is a certain amount of truth to people not understanding the culture.
And there was a clip of E-40 on a podcast. I forget what it was, or a radio show. And he goes, bro, E-40 is the slickest. The guy goes, how many words or slang terms are from the Bay that we don't even know come from the Bay? And he goes, did you pack a lunch? Yeah. Like, we gonna be here for a while because there's so many.
That's the whole thing.
Did you pack a lunch?
It's so that no, but that is and that part's so true too. The ultimate influence in terms of language, etc. So what is it, Fab?
It invokes a lot of emotion when we talk about this conversation and this topic. But for years, the Bay Area has been predominantly its own island in music. It's been its own planet in music, and
not just music.
And everything.
Culture too, yeah.
And everything. We've created our ecosystem that is just us. Like, and since we want to talk about that and the array of different things, of genres that we transcend, we talk about the Panthers, the Black Panther Party.
Yep.
We talk about the Brown Berets. We talk about the Hells Angels. We talk about
crazy.
You know what I mean? We talk about these, what people would consider these radical social reform groups and things of that nature. Then we talk about the Raiders, the Oakland Raiders, the Oakland A's. Like, these are things that they've always been different. They've always had their own difference to them. The hippies,
the whole hippie movement,
and so that multifaceted cultural area and certain spaces. When you're not there, you don't understand it, and anything that you don't understand, you kind of reject. You kind of I'm not cool on that. You know what I'm saying? I'm against that. The Bay Area created the independent music scene. So a person can be a millionaire or 100,000 there and no one knows them.
Right.
It wasn't about the fame with us. Mm-hmm. It wasn't about the fame of just trying to be you know me. It's just like, you want to buy this tape? You want to buy the CD? You don't got to know me or whatever. If you like it, you like it. I don't care if you like it. It's whatever. And so it was more so about the business.
It wasn't
with
no
us.
big publicity marketing.
Yeah, it wasn't
push behind it,
wasn't
but
the PR company rolling it out.
You still sold.
It was like, bro,
500,000 copies or whatever.
And then and Too Short is just a big fish in the pond that that gets overlooked. But of course, the E-40s, and then we begin to mention names like Andre Nicotina, where you have to be a real hip hop fan to know who this guy is. But if you don't, then you look at his accolades and you look at his sound scans and his fan base. You're like, wow, this is one of the first Tech Nines. This is one of the first cult follower, like where you be like, this dude has a cult following everywhere he goes, in and out the country. And then it just transcends and trickles down. Of course, they're on tour right now. They're on a 90-day tour right now. Like they're doing 90 dates 30 years later. Sold out shows all around the world. Like I was talking to Tajay yesterday, and he was like, I think he was like in Brussels or somewhere, and I'm like, damn, how do it feel 30 years later? Like just that.
And this is 30. This is 30 years. 93 till.
It's
30 years.
Yeah,
This
30
is 30-year anniversary.
93 till what?
Till
Exactly.
infinity.
Exactly.
It's still infinity.
Exactly.
It's still going.
So and now that's trickled down to some of the younger guys that are from this area that are from our area that are mixing in the independents, but are kind of jumping to this thing that we like to call the middle pendants, where they're not indie, they're not
Fire.
they're not major,
Fire.
but they're
Middle
right there in that
pendants.
middle
There they go
pendant, and they're getting the with the Larry Junes. He just dropped an album with Alchemist. The album does
that's getting a lot of love though.
Week.
That's getting a lot of love.
A lot of love. Like anything Larry does. Larry has created a fan base that's once again worldwide. You don't hear him everybody talking or screaming his name. If you know, you know.
Yep.
But what he's doing numbers. And and you get a chance to see that. You get a chance to see other artists that are flourishing in their own respect.
Like I'm a huge P-Lo fan.
Love P-Lo, another artist.
Oh, no, who knows who P-Lo is? You know what I mean? Like
outside of the baby.
Yeah.
No,
I only know P-Lo because of you.
Not even outside the big, like just like he has a hardcore fan base,
Right. And an extensive catalog.
And you look at his you look at go to his YouTube and you'll see him perform at like an arena, and I'm like, those people all know his name? So how come no one says his name to me? You know what I mean? And he makes joint after joint after joint after joint. I got 90 P-Lo joints in my phone. MP3s. Like I don't stream from streaming service. Right. I put the music in my phone, old school.
You don't stream at all?
I mean, a little bit, but like I always get nervous if I have no Wi-Fi. Am I fucked? Like I got music in my phone.
Sip's an interesting guy, bro. Fab, you don't even know.
But P-Lo, then you got like
P-Lo, Simba.
No, who's the other guy?
LaRussell.
LaRussell is definitely changing the game just
Bro,
based off the fact
LaRussell
that
is
he's
my
like,
guy.
I don't care what y'all doing. I don't even want to perform at your venue. I'm going to perform in my backyard.
No, it's crazy.
And I'm going to invite everyone to my backyard, and
you offer offer-based?
Offer-based tickets. So you offer $500 to get in. Nah, for this show, I really wanted $1,000. So we're gonna hold on that offer. So you have people that are actually paying $3,000 to $4,000 to come to watch him in his backyard perform.
I did not know that about.
No, it's crazy.
Like,
that's wild,
bro. He did a show. He told me he did a show.
Insane. Like Diddy has visited. Chance the Rapper.
No, they have to go to him.
These people come to his backyard where his mom is cooking, his dad is cooking.
Dad's cooking on the grill.
I think it's just an actual whole complete experience that you're buying.
They pressing shirts.
It's like you
in
get
the garage.
like you're almost a part of the family that day.
You're watching the merch get pressed right there,
right in the garage. Yep.
Then you get a chance to have an exclusive CD or footage of the day of. I mean, it's insane. But
no, it's crazy.
This is in a nutshell. He's a microcosm of what the macro Bay Area has done for years.
Yeah.
He's found a way to put it,
merge it with the current
time.
Yeah.
And he's giving complete knowledge to the next generation and the current generation on how to do it.
That's the most impressive part to me, is that he's sharing the information instead of holding it. Like, hey, if you want to ask me, I'll tell you how to do it. Most people wouldn't do that for you. Most people would want to hold on to the information that works for them.
I called LaRussell a couple times to literally ask him, everything you're doing right now is so big. You got it to a, he told me he did a show. I think it was a little theater somewhere in the Northwest somewhere, 400 people. He's like, I walked away with 80,000 because he is all for base. People's buying the merch, buying the CD, all that shit. I said, yo, you're doing shit on such a big level. I want to try to do what you do, but how do I start? Like, what's day one? You're already up to day 478. How do I do day one? And he sat and talked to me for an hour. This man is very busy.
Have you applied any of this stuff? Because so far we're still broke.
No, I applied it.
You're applying it?
You see all these goons I got with me? And then I hear today.
Was that part of it? Was he said hire 30 interns?
Yeah. But it's the fact that he talked to me for that long and he was like, this is how you do it. Just boom, boom, boom.
We don't have a problem sharing it. Like, I think the coldest phrase in black culture that set us back for several years is that the game is to be sold, not told.
I literally never understood that.
Like that.
I would always hear it and be like, what does that mean? The game is
that game, that means they're putting a price on the knowledge.
Right.
That they're sharing.
Yeah. Right.
And what that did was it cheated several generations of people that could have had access to things that they should have known.
I bet you whoever came up with that term
was a pimp.
It was a pimp, but also didn't mean it the way it then was interpolated. And it was like, this game is to be sold, not told. But that what didn't mean for the independent hustle side.
For interpolated?
Do you mean interpreted?
That's what I said.
No, you said interpolated like it was taking a song.
Like a sample.
Sample and changing.
Yeah, because they sampled it.
Got it.
Oh, I'm with you. I just wanted to make sure that I was with you. I mean,
by the way, that's a very deep point, though.
No, most definitely, because what happened was, once again, the Bay culture, pimps, like that. In the 70s, they had a black exploitation film called The Mac. Mm-hmm. And The Mac was a movie solely based off this character from Oakland, Frank Ward, that was played by Goldie. And that was the lifestyle that people wanted to be a part of. So, and then that was combative at the times where the Panthers were still coming. So now you have the Panthers that are trying to clean up the community and create brotherhoods and implement the programs that they were implementing, the 10-point programs and many of these other things that they were doing with that organization that was refiltering the community and protecting the community. Now they were combated versus these pimps. So now you have, that's also leading them to fight, and that's leading them to clash. So the pimps is what became our role models. These were the people that we began to say, man, I don't want to be like this Black Panther revolutionary broke ass talking about what's up, brother, where the money at, bruh?
All right.
And so you looking at the black brother who's telling you about being positive and helping your community and standing up for your rights and stuff, but he ain't having no money. Then you look at the pimp who got the Cadillac, he got the pretty women, he got the diamonds, the gold. You like, that's who I want to be like. So all of the philosophies that the Panthers were installing into the community, they were the interpolations when they remixed it. It went in one ear and out the other. But everything that the pimp told you stuck. Man, pimp these hoes, nephew. Man, get it out the hoe ass, man. You know what I'm saying about? Fast money off the ass money, man. Get the cash money, man. You know what I'm talking about? The game is to be sold, not told, man. You give me some money, I could give you some in this game. So we became obsessed with that. We became idolized. And then that's henceforth a rapper like Too Short that embodied what the pimps were saying. He created a character, Shorty the Pimp. And now you're like, oh, the messages to the masses began, pimp these hoes. More adding to the destruction. All right. And not throwing the boulders on short shoulders, but what we're saying is we understood what the culture created. And that was the product of our culture. So in the Bay Area, you have a microcosm of these things. You have Panthers, you have pimps, you have gangsters, you got killers. It's just like a part of the culture. Just like New York's wanted to be MCs and hustlers or basketball players, we wanted to be pimps, Panthers, or gang members. You feel me? Gangsters.
It's wild. Then you have the backdrop of like the hippies and the whole 60s movement there. Then you have the fact that like basically it became the place for homeless people to be. Like you add all of this up into the pot and then you look right now in 2023, it is still the place that the far right uses as the example of how bad America can be. Like, you turn on the news right now,
They'll talk about it.
Every day. It is some racist Republican going, and look what they're doing in San Francisco and Oakland.
But
every day that's still the case.
But you and to add in this point, how, and this is where the show goes somewhere else, just for a quick second though, we have to look at what was socially engineered. And the black consciousness and the level of social reform, what was happening with Huey Newton and the Black Panthers, what they were doing were they were creating this the policies. It wasn't nationalism, because nationalism is always protected by some forms of fascism and racism, and we have to understand these things. These are all separate agendas. They were just protecting and empowering their own communities and their own people. What that did was that was a threat on the national security, which J. Edgar Hoover created this program called counterintelligence, the COINTELPRO, which led to the disruption and the deactivation of the Panthers movement. But one of the key components that came from that was the flooding of crack cocaine, which was a social engineer experiment dropped right there in the middle of, in the heart of Oakland, California, San Francisco, Greater Bay Area, to destroy the central intelligence of black identity and social reform, which was the home of that because of the Panthers started in Oakland, California.
All right.
So now we drop this load. Now we're dealing with all of these combative resources that are counterintelligence. Now we're dealing with crack. Now we're dealing with pimps. Now we're dealing with violence. Now we're dealing with the drugs, the gangs, and so it's like, whoa, that was socially engineered to destroy that. Then you have J. Edgar Hoover saying that Huey Newton is public enemy number one. He made, if we look at a list of all of the public enemy number ones, and you see Huey Newton, you like, this is odd. Like, why is this man public enemy number one?
Because they were all in the Cold War, and at any moment they felt the black movement was gonna go communist.
Exactly.
In the Cold War, which is the number one enemy, they were like, we can't have these people that we've been treating like shit for 400 years go the other route.
No, but it wasn't even so much about communism. They used that to group that
to
in.
group together, yeah.
And make a correlation to have a reason to do what they were doing. But in actuality, what it was,
because everyone would rally against communism.
We can't have y'all. We can't have you teaching these black people about the NRA. The only time that the NRA has ever signed a bill that was against what they represent is when
black people bought the guns.
When black people bought the guns. That's the only time on record that they signed a bill like, oh yeah, no, hold on.
This is
not a video of the Black Panthers on the steps
on the stairs of
when they're
like y'all, no, y'all can't, y'all got guns.
Yeah, we have the right to have these guns.
Well, let's write this.
You know what this? The Democrats have been making a lot of sense recently.
This is right. So that is the first time in history that ever had happened.
Yeah, fact.
So this is like, wait a minute, the black people are rallying up and waking up and not being submissive to the of what we're saying, and now they're standing up and they're standing against, and not only are they just standing up with a rebellious attitude, they're actually educated.
They're using their own laws against us.
They're using what this constitutional says. They're right. They're learning this.
Yeah.
So the wave of that consciousness goes to Vietnam. Another socially engineered, like that wave of that generation of consciousness goes to Vietnam. When they come back, they're addicted to heroin, they're PTSD, they're shell shocked. Then when they come back, they're on crack.
Sheesh.
So this is like, so when we talk about the Bay Area biasness,
you kind of have to include the entire,
because it makes sense, because it's not
it all ties
far
in
away from our generational reach.
It's not that far.
My mother was a drug addict. My father was a heroin addict. My grandfather, my great uncle was a Black Panther. My daddy was a pimp. So when we talk about generational reach, it's within chronological arm length. Our arm length and reach to get that. So when we talk about those things, we have to involve that and highlight that. But we don't want to turn super political.
No, I loved it.
Here
I loved it. That was necessary. And you still feel like, it's so funny whenever I go to the Bay, like the conversation that there is about homelessness that comes with the Bay. It's almost like you think it's going to be cliched, right? Like I live on the Upper West Side, And everyone talks about, New York's gotten crazy, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, not really. It's basically all the same, right? In my experience over the last 25 years going to the Bay, every time I'm in the Bay, I see someone on the street do some shit that I never see in New York. Ever.
I'll go for that.
The level of emboldened that cats have on the street in the Bay.
Especially in downtown San Francisco.
What? I will literally see, I'll be like, this actually makes me nervous. I'm crossing the street.
Right.
Like, it's funny, here, even in Times Square, you might every once in a while, but it's kind of rare. And in the Bay, it's fucking nuts. And it all ties into everything you just said.
It's extreme,
Everything.
man.
And then let me ask you about this: the ignorant, like when you come to New York and you say you're from Cali, people in New York and the East Coast just think Cali's LA.
LA.
Right.
Just,
So do you
just
think
the
that
term Cali.
Cali.
Just when people say Cali in New York, when untraveled New Yorkers say Cali, they don't actually know what they're saying.
They don't even know the difference.
You might have to say San Francisco.
And they might not even know San Francisco's in California.
Right.
Oh, and they
So
definitely might not know that San Francisco and Oakland come together to be the Bay.
Right.
They definitely don't know
And
that.
they definitely think that it's an hour away.
Yes.
From
But that's what I
each
was
other?
going to ask
Yeah,
you.
they're like the Bay in LA.
Do you think that hurts? Do you think that hurts the hip hop scene? Being that, does it matter that it's in the same state because it's 8 hours away driving or 6 hours, whatever it is?
Come on, Ciph. How slow are you driving?
So if you drive the Pacific Coast Highway,
No, it's still 6. 6 and change. You're fine.
6 from the Pacific Coast.
Yeah.
Well, my mom drove slow. The state is so long, right? The California is so long. LA's way at the bottom. The Bay's more at the top. If it was just cut in half and it was a different state, do you think it would be a different?
That's interesting.
Different whole talk.
Yeah.
Like if you guys lived in Buffonia, and it's like, oh, did we live in the Bay? Because the people don't even know what the Bay means. A lot of people. Some people do.
I get what he's saying. He's saying like if the Bay Area was its own state, we'd probably be able to be seen more.
Yeah,
without having to deal with the shadow cast.
We're fighting LA.
There is a shadow cast by LA inherently.
We'll always be the little homie.
But it doesn't make sense when you look at the numbers and the amount of artists. You're not really the little home.
But that's how it's been perceived because even with the resurgence of, or the surgence, not resurgence, even with the surgence of the Golden State Warriors winning, the Southern California will always say this is the Lakers state.
Right.
Like, this is Lakers territory. Like California's Lakers territory, but now the Warriors is like this is a
dynasty.
This is a new race.
That's another
this is a
thing.
new dynasty.
Do you think? I think that's confusing to New Yorkers.
Cali
Why
has-
is it Golden State? Why isn't it not the Oakland or the San Francisco Warriors?
Cali has always been separated, and we must know that. Cali is damn near now like 3 states because even Central Cali,
that's Central.
They
It's
have
a whole
their
other
own.
world.
They have their own stars now. They have their own movement, like the Fresno, the Stockton, all in there, and then Southern California. The thing that has never connected the Bay in Southern California is there was never any Bloods and Crips in Oakland.
Right.
So we never saw eye to eye with that. So that was always a LA thing. It was like, that's Southern California. Like, we don't do that up here. And like I said, the pimps was more, they like, nigga, we ain't pimps, we gangbangers, we gangsters. And pimps, they looked at that as like
soft.
like goofy and soft. Like, y'all dress funny with the, things like that. So they never really, it was always a level of discernment there, like for the Bay. So it was always split. And then in our mind, our big homies, when they was coming out of jail, they would be like, man, we don't fuck with them LA, man. We ain't going down there, man. We keeping it like this. So that,
But they was in jail with the LA because it was state.
and it
state.
was
It.
because of the prisons, the prison politics.
You'll be broke up and sectioned off
Everything's
anyway.
already separated. The Bloods would be there, the Crips would be there. Then you
Bay
got a
Area
thing
be
called
over
the
here.
Bay card.
Yeah.
So the Bay card would be like, I'll let you explain. I never been.
Yeah, Uncle. And where were you in jail?
I've been into a lot of prisons all over California.
All over California.
I used to run in and out of jail jail was probably my first home and freedom was my second.
Wow.
At one time, but yeah, like in jail, but it would be sectioned off. I mean, and it would start before prison. It would start as far as youth authority, like when you would first go to jail as kids. So you put all these kids in one area of jail, and now you got everybody sectioned off. So it's like, and jail was like, it would be sectioned. It'd be the white, like you couldn't even eat together. Like whites eat here, blacks eat here, and then in the black card, the Crips ate here. So in the black area, for food or working out, we had different workout sections.
Right.
So like the Bay Area, like, okay, we have a little section for blacks. In that section, you had a Bay Area card, then you had a blood card, then you had a Crip card, and then you had general population. That means people that just don't want to be associated with anything. They'll just get whatever's left over. But
which way did you roll? Do you tell us?
Bay Area card.
Oh, always Bay Area.
And then inside of the Bay Area card, you're going to have 2 or 3 different. You're going to have like BCF,
Oakland.
or you're going to have 415. So you're going to have like a car inside of the Bay Area car that kind of dictates or controls the flow of the Bay Area car. Because if not,
Politics.
if we're not protecting our own in the Bay Area, then the Crips and the Bloods can come together and with their cars and kind of like smash us. So the Bay Area, LA, it would be one car. Then inside of the LA car, you had the Bloods or the Crips. Inside of the Bay Area car, you might have Richmond, Palo Alto, Frisco, and we all had to Voltron together to be one car because
They outnumbered.
we outnumbered. And then if you went down south to a jail, you're really outnumbered because LA so big, so many people from LA is going to jail that we're going to always be outnumbered. So that's how it would be. It would be like just different sections.
Wait, when you say down south, you mean Southern California?
Southern California,
Yeah. Right?
They would overpopulate the jails.
Right, in the south of the state.
And
prisons.
this is the stuff that we got coming out. So when our homies coming out of jail, they've been so brainwashed,
Conditioned
and
mentally,
conditioned
yeah.
with the politics that they inoculated that in us.
And then it would probably start a little bit earlier than that too, though, nephew, because it would start like. So say when crack first hit, right, cocaine first, you know what I'm saying,
really, good old days.
Really became popular. Like LA would have the best prices. You know what I'm saying, me? So you would want to take that drive to LA to try to get some drugs. Well, majority of the time, most people wasn't making it back.
Great episode of Snowfall when they make the trip to the Bay, by the way.
You know what I'm saying?
Tremendous.
So you wouldn't. So it started like before even like the ones that wasn't going to jail be like, man, watch out how you fuck with the LA cats. You know what I'm saying? Because you go down there trying to just find some drugs because it's closer to where the drugs is coming from. You might not make it back. You know what I mean? So it was just like, it's always been a gap somewhere.
Cali has always been divided.
Always been divided.
Yeah, man. That's. I mean, it makes for great music, and then
I won't say always, nephew, because
It's coming together now, though.
Because I think at one time, like when the Black Panthers was strong, it was a lot of LA cats that was joining that. You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of a little bit together until drugs came.
they
most
try to
definitely.
break. They
Most
broke it
definitely.
up on purpose.
It was
split us
socially
up.
engineered because
it split us up.
when you had Huey Newton, you had Eldridge Cleaver, you had Bunchy Carter, you had Geronimo Pratt, you had several individuals that were influential in the Black Panther conscious movement. And you know, we talk about the Crips and things like these were social reform groups before they became gangs.
Right.
You know, these were gangs that were to create a form of governing their own communities.
Right.
Were they, with timeline wise, were the Bloods and Crips origins right on the tail end of Panthers?
Yes.
Most definitely.
So it was related at the time.
It's definitely
It
related.
was built. So what happens is every one of those things was built for protection. Like we're gonna build these two things to try to save our community. Like for other people can't come in and harm us. You know what I'm saying? Because the riots and all those things was going on. So you had these things. Even in the Bay Area, you would have like 415 or you had BGF. It was all supposed to be for protection of the people. What happens is eventually somewhere in there, we're going to go from protecting us to harming us. You know what I mean?
Well,
I never told you this. I lived in the Bay for a little while.
For real?
for when?
Yeah.
I forget.
2nd and 3rd grade.
Oh, yeah.
Hayward, California. I still got my
Hayward.
library card. You talking about the 415 and the BTF? Yeah. I got my Hayward library card.
That's
I still got it, and I rode the BART.
So when you said so that was your set was the Hayward Hayward Library. All right, so I want to ask you a couple of rap things too. Fab.
Yeah. We got political. It was
No, I love that too. But you're the first person who I think like comes to my mind. I always have this question about battle rap. Right, battle rap has it's always been a subgenre, but now it's really a subgenre.
Right,
it's a genre.
Yeah, well, yes, it is hip hop though. Yes, you're right. It's its own genre.
Yeah,
that
it is
like
hip hop.
On the Venn diagram, it's kind of separated now.
Yeah, if you say just a hip hop, a general term, yes, it's a subgenre, but it's its own thing now.
Yeah, like I mean, by that I mean I know nothing about it. Like I feel pretty passionate and committed to hip hop and modern day battle rap. I consider a different thing.
Yeah, some other shit.
But you're from the era, Fab, where you were battling on beats. And then you were battling when it became fully a cappella. You did both. Whereas, like, people think of battle rap. If you don't know anything, you picture 8 Mile, right?
Right.
Everyone's rapping on fucking Showbiz and AG and Shook Ones, right? And then right now, if you were to do it, musical pocket is not a part of it at all.
At all.
So tell me just, do you remember when it changed and did you prefer it with music or without? Where do you land on that? Because it's wildly different to be rapping to a beat and doing what they do now where there is no beat at all.
Super props to anyone that can do either or.
You mean yourself? You're just giving props to yourself. You just gave a shout out to Mistah F.A.B. Because you can do both.
I like him a lot. A lot.
No, and both take a shit ton of skill.
Most definitely. I think now is like, and it's also understanding what eras and that some of us come from. Some of us come from the off the head era, where it's like you're rapping off the head right there. Then some people have freestyle, what a freestyle is, and Big Daddy Kane broke this down. And I never looked at it because I never knew. I never knew that it was to be this. A freestyle was a rap that you wrote that was just free of topic. It didn't have any ceiling to it. You could go anyway. It was just basically like creative writing. And you had that in your back pocket anytime you grabbed a mic that you could spit that. And
I've never thought of it that way.
They considered that a freestyle. It wasn't on an album. It wasn't on a project.
Right.
And in my mind, I would always be confused because I would see blogs and I would see people come up to these radio shows and they'd be like, yo, spit a freestyle. And someone would spit something that they wrote. And I would be like,
it's not a freestyle.
Right, you're not freestyling.
Bro, that's not a freestyle. Like, that's not what I was raised to understand what a freestyle was.
And in fact, it changes the bar so much that when people really do freestyle, when you're not accustomed to hearing freestyling, you hear that and think it sucks because you're used to hearing writtens. You're not realizing, no, that's crazy. Yo, I've listened to Super Nat freestyle before for 30 minutes.
Right.
Now, if you were to compare that to someone's best bars, okay, maybe it's a different conversation.
Right.
But this is coming off the top endlessly.
Yeah, right in the moment.
I freestyle with Nat for hours. Just, on some real hip hop sensei class. Like, that's one of my senseis.
Shouts to Super Nat, man.
And
He's
so, like,
a god.
Super Nat is the rap god. Like, he's
he
rap
really
god.
is.
He's, him, Casual. These guys are rap guys. These are guys that I've had the opportunity to be around the access gates to heaven of rap.
Of
You know what I'm saying? To be around those rap gods. So, I think the time that I was so shell shocked is I was battling Locksmith on the radio, and I was just going in there ready to just like freestyle, and he said something so complex and dope. I was like,
the shit has changed.
if you're freestyling that, I quit.
Right,
Like, if that's off the head, if you're that good,
I'm done.
And it obviously wasn't.
like, I'm like, if you're that good, I retire. No one can be that good. Like, and I was just like, and then they pulled me to the side. I was like, nah, he wrote that. Like, but he was just performing. I was like, I'm like, he's dope. he's great. Like, the Locksmith has one of the most underrated pens in history of rap, right? He's from the Bay Area as well, Richmond, California. So when I realized that, then the segue into watching battle rap now, it became more interesting to me.
Oh, really? So you find it more interesting with the research, writing?
Because it's
deeper. It's much deeper.
It's like Othello. It's like It's like it's a play. It's the theatrics behind it. It's the performance. It's the to be poignant on your delivery and the things that you do. It's like, wow, that's real. An orator, like, you know what I'm saying, to be a narrator, to be. It's just the performing arts part of it is amazing.
Yes, and it's totally set. That's what I mean. It's totally different than listening to music.
I love it. It's like watching wrestling.
It took me a while to
right.
It took me a while to get into it because I couldn't understand the acapella part.
The words.
And now when it
dope.
pops up, it's
the performance.
It's pretty,
like as a wrestler, we all grew up watching Hulk Hogan, and we watch these things, and like we would fight in the hood when somebody tells us that wrestling is fake. You would fight. You'd be like, "What do you mean? I'll beat you up, and I'll do this figure four on you.
I'll show you. Yeah, if that's fake, what's this?
I'll Boston crab you and break your leg. I'll break your back right now. What are you talking about? What with me? Like, you know, I've got kicked out of class a lot of times for the Boston crab, you know, for real. But it was just more so about the theatrics behind it. Everybody comes with a character now, and it's just about great performance art. So
you love it? You still watching all the time?
I love it. I love it. And it's amazing, man. Battle rap, hip hop. Hey.
So where do you consider it? Like, is it in this, like, where is it in the hip hop? It's here. It's next to it. But it's not exactly hip hop music.
It's not music.
It's hip hop culture.
It has to be the 6 subgenre of the 5 pillars of hip hop.
Right.
You have to add it in.
Because it's such a fundamental part too. Though battling is such a fun.
There, b-boying.
It's not even. It might not even be the 6.
DJing, styling, dressing, coach, battle rap.
That's right.
Everybody can't do it, but to those that are doing it, respect them because they are still representing hip hop culture.
Oh, the Bay, man.
You just randomly didn't say that?
I'm a fan of the Bay.
You're just a fan of the Bay.
I love the hyphy. I love the. What do you call
Like, you ghost ride? Do you often ghost ride the whip?
I've ghost ride the whip before.
You have ghost ride. You've ghost ride. What's the
In
past
New York?
tense?
Yeah.
Ghost Road.
You ghost rode the whip.
You what?
He said, "What's past tense of it?"
It's not ghost ridden.
You said what's past tense?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said what's the process.
Well, no, I can figure out the process.
I've ghost
ridden
what's the
before. He ghost rode. She ghost rode. We went ghost riding. Yeah, right.
Why can't I think of the guy?
G-Eazy.
Susie.
I love G-Eazy. I am Sue.
I am Sue.
What? That's not hyphy though.
No, it's a
Is it like that?
it's a branch off the tree.
Right. Yeah.
He created him
'Cause
and
I
his
love
crew,
him,
him, P-Lo. They're all in the same
P-Lo.
crew. He introduced
What's the other kid? John.
Cool John.
Cool John,
Cool John.
P-Lo,
Sage.
Sage.
Oh yeah, Sage.
Jeezy. They all come
Shouts
from
to Jeezy, yeah.
The whole Skipper, the whole HBK family is like, you know, he was like right after me. So it was like, you know, he embodied what we did, ran with it, created his own touch on it.
Yep.
And gave birth to the next generation. Like, so everything is all connected. Like, you know.
Can you tell me when Mac Dre like became a super culturally important
Cultural
figure?
icon.
Yes. Because I sort of like missed it, and then it was
So Mac Dre, not to interject, I apologize.
no, please.
No, just interpolate it.
Yeah, interpolate that real quick.
Mac Dre was already popular in the 90s. Him and Coolio the Underdog, they were rapping, and they would have California Living. He would blow up from that. He ended up getting into some legal troubles where he refused to tell on his team. That cost him 5-6 years in the federal penitentiary. When he came out of the federal penitentiary, dead rappers and prison rappers get a lot of attention. Unfortunately, that's the way that this culture works.
Yeah.
That you have to have some negative things around your name for people to care about you. When he came home, his mentality was, yo, I'm finna have some fun. I'm finna represent this Bay. To me, the moment that he became a cultural icon is when he put out this DVD called Trill TV.
Okay.
Trill Television.
Trill?
Trill, like real.
Yeah, Trill.
Like too real. So
Yeah.
too real is Trill.
Yeah, Trill.
But that was Trill. Big shout out to Uncle Bun B.
I was about to say it was Bun B Trill.
Shout out to
Trill.
Bun B Trill, my Uncle Bun. When they put out Trill TV had everybody like, oh, he a star. Like he had the diamond teeth, he had the Range Rover, he had the G-Wagon,
This
the
is
old,
Mac Dre.
the Mac Dre. And nobody knew that he was doing this. Nobody was like he became a star to us. It was like, oh, I want to be like that. He had the women.
How did he get all that?
Yeah, how did he get to that?
Stuff you talked about earlier?
Got it. Keep going.
Yeah.
The independent messiah, man. He sold a lot of records, man.
Right. He's selling a lot of records.
Sold a lot of records,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
And it was so amazing to watch how we became, like, people just fanned out when they saw him, because now he was, at that time, like, of course we knew 40, we knew Short, and, you know, we loved them, and we had nothing but love and respect for the pioneers that had already did it for the Bay. But to this culture and to this generation, he looked like us.
Right.
He wore the clothes that we wore, or we wanted to wear what he was wearing.
This is like 2000, 2001?
2002, 2003.
Got it. So when you think about it, just timeline-wise, it's like 11 years after he dropped his first record.
Right.
But in between, he went to jail. So he dropped his first record in 92.
Right.
That makes him a full 10 years, a full generation after Too Short.
A whole new reinvention,
right.
though. Like, he comes out and he's rapping
nowhere near
different.
the person he was.
He's nowhere near that.
So it's almost like now 2 generations removed, because when he came out in 92, he was and now it's another 10 years,
Right.
and he's a different version.
He's a whole different version. He's like a new character.
So there are probably some young people who don't even really remember how he was hitting in 92.
They don't.
They didn't know. They didn't even know. Okay.
They might think it's somebody. If they saw that, they'd probably think it was a different person.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay,
so
got
he's
it.
created this whole new image, and we're just like, oh my God, like, this dude is a star. And that's when he became a cultural icon in our eyes. You know what I'm saying? And
then that's where hyphy comes from.
hyphy is
Is it
in
Mac
that
Dre?
recipe. It's in that gumbo. It's Keek the
It's
Sneak.
part of, yeah.
It's Keek the Sneak. It's Mac Dre. It's Something Terrible. It's East Oakland. It's, you know, West Oakland house parties. It's that. And that's the infancy stages. Then it goes nationwide. It's Federation.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's like, oh, okay.
Is there
now-
one producer who?
Rick Rock.
It's Rick Rock.
Rick Rock was
Is the-
producing Federation.
Got it.
But Mac Dre was doing his own beats. You had
right.
like Mac Dre, then you had the long forgotten hero that I love to always show love to is Sean T. Sean T is like the most underrated. Whenever they talk about dope producers, they never mention his name, but he has some big records in that time that kind of like catapulted the whole Bay
Like,
Area
who did the
sound
Keek the
sonically.
Sneak? Like
Rick Rock did some of the
Rick
Keek
Rock
the
is-
Sneaks. Yeah, Rick Rock, Lev Burlack. It was a multitude of producers. It was hella different.
But where did
producers.
this like?
The sound became
the sound,
in sequence
like,
when it became what tempo that you're making this beat at.
Right, so
And
101
at whatever
200.
tempo, what BPM that you were making it, and the content that was being talked about. And if you could say something like this, okay, then we're going to consider that hyphy. There were many songs that were just threw in the hyphy, cylinder.
Hyphy just became that name of music
Period.
that came out that time. Anything from the Bay was like, oh, that's hyphy. It might
And it wasn't
not
always
be
like
technically hyphy.
Now, if you know what I think that we forget, that we overlook, that I can look at, Mac Dre brung every race together in the Bay Area.
Everybody.
So like before you know E-40 you wouldn't really know, but Mac Dre brung, you had every nationality was going dumb. Everybody was like, it was one Bay Area movement. It didn't matter if you was Filipino, white, Hispanic.
So it made it to the suburbs
It was one party.
with that Dre.
One party.
Like, there was no ethnicity and any of that meant nothing at that time for us, because it was about a party. It was about us all coming together.
I missed that, man.
If Fab has a show, Fab's calling 10 different artists, and I'm gonna all let them do a song on my set. And we're all
Well, what's the song they told you weren't allowed to do at clubs?
kicked out the club. I couldn't do kick out the
They
club.
tell you don't do that song.
No, we'll shut this party down. If you
We'll kick you out the club if you do
Like,
kick out the
if
club.
you do kicked
And
out
not
the
get
club,
paid.
You will
we'll
be
shut
kicked
this
out.
party. It was in contracts. It was like, yo, you
You can't do that.
can't do kicked out the club. If you do kicked out the club, we're shutting this down.
The sound will shut down.
We're closing it down.
Yeah.
So of course I did it.
Yeah, you had to. You had to. No, how big? Like how much did the city shut down when Mac Dre died? Was it like is there a way to describe that? Because
See, it's tough for you to say city because you have to remember it's like boroughs. So the Bay Area is still built like boroughs.
Right.
And in those boroughs, it's like Vallejo, Oakland, Richmond, Berkeley, San Jose, Fairfield. And it was impacted, like everyone. San Francisco, it was just totally impacted. Mac Dre dying was like lugubrious. It was the worst feeling in the world. It was cloudy, just hurtful, harmful. Everybody's just like, wow.
and like the radio stations, everyone's talking about it all day, playing his music,
just
right?
over the Bay, and they just like, and it was tough, man. The news talked about it, Everybody talked about it, man. So, you know, and that was 2004. So still to this day, and almost 20 years later, we're still talking about it.
Yeah.
That just goes to show how impactful that was.
Do people have love for Drake for the reference on the motto?
It's always mixed emotions.
Right. Was it both? So some people are like, who are you to say that? And other people say, hey, thank you for keeping his name alive.
The Bay Area has always had that small town emotion where
there's so much stuff gets stolen from the Bay and they don't get credit. It's just he might have been doing it with great intentions, but here go another one.
They're trying to steal from us.
Steal us our shit.
They're trying to steal from us because, you know, it's just that it's like the kid from the small town that goes to the major school instead of going to the local school that was there, and everybody is just like, why did you leave us? Why would you leave us? That, you know, we have an abandophobia. Like, there's an abandonment issue in the Bay Area that they really don't want you to get too big. They just stay home, stay the hometown hero. And sometimes someone has to spread their wings and fly. And so I love seeing some of the artists flourish that are coming from our area, man. I love watching the things that they're doing. I love watching the Kailanis and her and La Russell and, you know, G-Eazy. And,
oh my God, Kalani is
I love watching these
so
people
dope.
flourish because no matter what, they still represent that Bay. No matter what, whether they're doing it there, you could hear it. You can hear it in their talk. You can see it in their style. Yeah, it's there, and we just need more people to, you know, to get inside of the infrastructure of the industry.
Pilo
to
lives
their
in
awareness.
LA.
Yeah,
every beat to this day is a Bay beat. You know what I mean? Like, it don't matter. He's like, I live here for the opportunities. I make music from up there.
Yeah, and it's just the public, man. Unfortunately, what we talk about is those that curate these playlists or those that curate what they like to say is cultural appropriate. They love labels. They love lists. It's all labels. They love putting people in subgenres, and it just confuses everything because just be a creator and curate whatever it is that you want to make. Don't worry about, if I'm making a bass song, is this a bass song? Man, just make good music, man, and have fun doing it. That's why I love Larry June. He's just like, dude, I'm Larry June, bro. Like, you feel me? I'm making music.
And honestly, that's one of the things, you know, Larry June's the kind of artist that I play on my show. Right. That's why I just love underground hip hop, because when you make it from making that, and I use the word underground loosely, but I don't think you certainly have to describe Larry June, I think, is stylistically in that vein of, you know, real hip hop shit. Region is so unimportant when it comes to that shit. Yeah. When it comes to underground shit, it's just like, that's just fire. Alchemist produced it. I don't give a fuck where
Region doesn't mean anything because you got Jay Worthy, who's killing it in LA.
Yep.
You got Dom Kennedy, who's killed it for several years there. You have Currency Spitter, who's killing it in his areas, in respected areas, nationwide, worldwide. But these are all artists that are just dope artists, man. I think that we need to get rid of titles. And if the music is dope, rock with the music, play the music, spread it, spread the love. And if the artists are cool, support them as well. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because there's some talented artists that are assholes and dickheads, and it's just like, it makes it tough to support those. But if you got some cool artists that's just making some dope music, hip hop, and it's invoking emotion and it's creating those vibes for you, get behind it and support it. Like, people, I don't care if my music is receptive like that or received in any way, because I'm a dope ass human. Like, if I didn't make music, I would still be a person that would be able to come up and do sports talks and do comedy and do acting or be a writer or an author or a community philanthropist. There's so many different titles to the things that I do that I don't become encapsulated with a title. Yeah. I'm just human. You know what I mean? And I'm living my human life, bro. And that's, to me, that's what's most important. Just be a dope ass human.
Ciph.
2 things before we go. Well, 3. 1, okay, so all this Bay talk, California talk, it's not funny, but the video of E-40 getting ejected from the game, which is Sacramento and Golden State Warriors, which is like neighbors. How could E-40 be getting kicked out?
White people. Sorry, I'll let you go, fam. Yeah.
For real.
The Darren Karen. You know, when you're dealing with the Darren Karen, man, you look at that and you see that no matter how successful, no matter how much of a positive influence you can be, no matter when we talk about entrepreneurialism, he embodies that. If an entrepreneur was a person, it would be him.
Yep.
This is Earl Stevens, the liquor connoisseur, the liquor ambassador, who has his own alcohol, who has his own wine, who has his own cooking show. He has so many different things going on, man. Self-made millionaire.
Where real quick, where are 40's seats at the Warriors games?
He sits right next to the Warriors bench, so he's right on the floor.
Do you understand the level of successful and rich you have to be to sit anywhere near the Warriors fucking bench?
Oh, yeah, for
of
sure.
any state, including MSG. There's not a more expensive building to sit in America. That lower bowl at Oracle is the heads of every single tech company on planet Earth.
I've been there for 15 years.
So show me a receipt. I want to see, because it's crazy.
We've been there where we sit. I've been sitting for like 15 years. 40's been sitting for about a decade. But it's just crazy to watch. You see somebody like this, like you're putting E-40 out the game. Are you serious?
He's at every game sitting in the front row.
Like that's like kicking Jack Nicholson out. That's like, you know what I'm saying?
Spike Lee.
You're kicking Spike Lee out of the game. You're kicking Billy Crystal out of the game. You're kicking, like, this is what we're doing. And it's unfortunate because it just goes to show you, like they said, no matter what, in some eyes of these Americans, these Darren Karens, you're still a nigga. And
I mean, that's literally how it looked.
And it's just like, it's tough.
I'm trying to figure out how it could be something else, because she's sitting behind him. So it doesn't make sense.
Her gripe is
he was standing too much.
You're standing up. Lady, this is the first playoff game that the Sacramento Kings and the Warriors have played. The energy in here is intense. Everyone's on the edge of their seat. I'm sitting in front of you and I'm tall, and you're constantly you're heckling me. So you're heckling me, telling me to sit down, and I just paid all this money for these seats, and everybody's in here.
No, not just paid. Always been paying.
I've been paying.
And you're probably only telling me to sit down because of the moment that I'm standing up rooting.
And because I'm rooting for the Warriors.
That's a very important part.
Was it in the other teams?
It was in
if
Sacramento.
I was standing up rooting for Sacramento, you wouldn't have said anything.
It would be fun and games.
You wouldn't have said anything.
So I'm pretty sure that Vivek is going to issue a public apology. He's also going to issue probably accommodate him with some seats and everything.
The security dude, almost like he was trying to almost put him in handcuffs, like the way he grabbed him.
He's definitely going to. There's going to be something going on. Vivek is an amazing human. This is the owner of the Sacramento Kings. He used to be a part owner of the Golden State Warriors a few years ago. So there's history there. He's a friend.
Yeah.
He has a beautiful family. His daughter's has donated to so many different events in our community events over the years.
So they're going to do the right thing.
Most definitely.
It was just a nasty
There's no doubt
moment.
in my mind that Vivek will make this right.
Yeah,
in whatever way that he can.
I know nothing about sports. Right. I don't care. I was hurt that I saw E-40.
I think all of us were.
In that place.
Yeah.
Get treated that way, where the guy
in Northern California.
I think the moment was so big.
It wasn't LA.
This is 40. You're in Northern California. Like, what are you talking about? This is E-40. So I like I say, there's no doubt in my mind that Vivek will rectify things. I mean, it's already been, attenuated type results that has happened from it. But I think that he will come back and,
Yeah,
You think 40 will be there tomorrow or the next day, whenever it is?
No. And the reason why is because 40 is big on respect. He's very big on respect. Yeah. And
can you imagine what he's going to get, though, when he walks into Oracle for the first game?
It's going to be insane. It's going to be insane.
Wait, so the next game is
like we're
one more in
back
Sacramento, and
he'll be at the home one.
They have globally humiliated this man. So I wouldn't
because if you don't know who E-40 is, some black guy is assaulting a white one, verbally assaulting some woman, and they're getting kicked out.
If they don't get on it ASAP, I definitely see some legal things going on, because this is public humiliation. This is public humiliation beyond understanding.
I was watching that like with disgust, and I'm like, know nothing about sports.
That's 40, man. You don't do
40.
That's 40 water, man.
Okay, we gotta go. This guy hit me up, was in town, said he wants to do my comedy show. This guy did my show the other night. 10 minutes. First of all, you gotta respect the light, bro.
I didn't even see the light.
The light. You know what the light is, right?
I didn't have my glasses. Yeah, I saw the light. when I looked around and I seen the light, I'm like, okay,
because I was
He disrespected the light.
I was lighting him.
Was it disrespected?
It was a little long. But if you didn't see it,
I didn't.
Did you really not?
I swear.
Did you really not see it, or did you? Did I say don't do kick out the club, and you said I'm gonna do kick out the club?
In this stage of my life, I'm very respectful to the
course.
rules and everything. And I promise you, I did not see the light. I didn't even see where you were. And when I
should have told you where the light would be coming from.
I'm like, okay. So then when I panned and I'm like, oh shit, the light. Let me wrap this up. So
how Mistah F.A.B do?
At least 10, 12 minutes.
So how did he do?
Oh, hilarious.
Is this the thing you're into?
I love comedy.
And you love just getting up there and doing it?
Yeah, and randomly, like just spluttered a moment.
Spot, like freestyle.
I
freestyle too.
Like, I probably had like 2 rehearsed jokes that I've done before, but I've only done it like in clubs like 3 times. There's an open mic spot where we go and we just play around, but like in a serious setting where it's real comedy fans, not just Mr. F.A.B fans.
Where was this, the Cellar?
Yeah, like your third time ever.
Right.
Is the Comedy Cellar. Like, you might not realize how big that is, bro. That's the Comedy Cellar. That's the spot, bro.
I have fun. And it was dope, the reception that I received.
But I see it because he got the gift of gab. And is it real quick, we're done. The famous story of when Richard Pryor was doing a Bill Cosby impersonation for a long time. He was trying to be Bill Cosby.
No, he was still in his jokes.
And he was like, I'm not doing this no more. Went to the Bay and became the Richard Pryor that we know. Same thing with Chappelle. When he left the Chappelle show, how he would make his money is he'd go to Bay for 2 weeks.
And do a show every night.
What was this club? The Paris? The
New Parish.
New Parish. He'll go in there, do 2 weeks, 2 shows a night, leave with 200, 300 grand, live his life. So the Bay, when it comes to like hip hop, I love, but then the comedy aspect of it is that you could be so real there. It's a great thing. I can't wait to do the punchline one day.
It's gonna be dope, man. Hey, man, we appreciate y'all allowing us to come up here.
What?
And this conversation was super dope because it
carries
the pendulum was like it was furthest to the left.
Well, we interpolated it.
The what?
The pendulum. It swung, Unk. You see the pendulum swung.
Furthest to the left.
I'm not going to be happy, by the way, speaking of comedy, until you do a sketch where Lil Rel plays Unk.
You gotta see who he is. He looks like a younger version.
No, have you seen Rel now? Rel grew it out great, too.
Oh, I haven't seen him yet.
I have to see it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him yet. No, he's funny. He's definitely
Shouts
funny.
to Lil Rel.
Hey, man.
Thank you, guys.
This is dope,
Thank
man.
you.
Thank
Fabby
y'all
Davis
so much,
Jr.,
man.
a.k.a.
Millie,
Mr.
man.
F.A.B.
Thank y'all so much, man.
Yellow Bus Rider. Thank y'all.